So there has been organic growth within our existing pipeline over several years now, and we're continuing to build on that. But one of the things that we were very focused on was to source a new project.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Ariana Resources Managing Director, Karim Senner. And Karim, very good to speak with you and lots of news to chat about. You've been very busy so far this year. Let's start off with your strong financials for 2024. Can you take us through the highlights of those?
Absolutely, and very pleased to join you. Really, we're at a pivotal moment in the development of the company. The announcements that we put out over the last several weeks now are really demonstrating the pathway that we're working towards in all respects, particularly towards the ASX dual listing of the company. With respect to the final results of the company, yet again, we've demonstrated an accounting profit of 2.7 million pounds. That's in comparison to the prior year, which was 0.1 million pounds. But we've been in profit now since 2016. And in large part, that is down to the progress of our joint venture company, Zenit Madencilik in Turkey. We've been developing the Tavşan mine, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later on. But of course, we've continued to demonstrate cash flow out of our existing operation that has been in production since early 2017. That's the Kızıltepe mine. So the Zenit itself is highly profitable. It's been returning a large amount of capital, and utilizing that capital, we've been re-injecting that into the development of the Tavşan mine itself, and that will be due to come on stream very soon. The share of our interest, so our 23.5% interest in Zenit, increased substantially this year, up to 21.3 million pounds. And the other major change within our accounts was, of course, when we completed the merger acquisition with Rockover, taking control of the Zimbabwean Dokwe gold asset. That's seen a substantial increase in where we see the exploration expenditure in our accounts. That's 17 million pounds. So between those two things, a fairly significant uplift in our financial position.
With rising gold prices and expanding production, how are you balancing reinvestments in growth with delivering shareholder value?
So, I mean, really, this comes down to what it means to be an exploration, development, and production company. And you're right, there's a careful balance to be had there. We know that the whole business ultimately has to be sustainable in the long term. And those three somewhat competing objectives between exploration, development, and production do have to sort of pan out broadly within appropriate timeframes. Now, for a large part of our history, we've been an exploration company. We moved into the development phase very successfully in partnership with Presea Construction. We were able to then bring ourselves to the production stage. But of course, production can't last forever. Mineral resources, they're depleting assets. As you mine, you're utilizing the resources in the ground. And you have to either continue exploration or continue the development of other projects within the portfolio, or you have to go out and find new opportunities. Now, we've done a bit of both. Through our history, we've been very successful on the exploration front. We've obviously continued to grow the resource base in and around Kızıltepe itself. We've done the same at Tavşan, and of course now Tavşan is being mined and will be operational through its own heap leach very soon. But likewise at Salınbaş, substantial resource there. So there has been organic growth within our existing pipeline over several years now. And we're continuing to build on that. But one of the things that we were very focused on was to source a new project. And that new project, inorganic growth, the acquisition of the Dokwe project was extremely important to us because we recognized that this was a major opportunity to develop a plus 1 million ounce deposit that had significant exploration upside in its own right. And it was also at a fairly advanced stage, having completed its pre-feasibility study in 2022. So a huge amount of risk has already been taken out of that project, in fact, and we're now working on the feasibility study. So it's a combination of all of those things, and we have to just maintain the most appropriate balance for our business going forward.
I mean, you've also announced an expansion in Kosovo with your exploration footprint there. So really covering multiple jurisdictions now, Kerem. So how does this diverse portfolio position you going forward?
It positions us very well because we are split across a number of different jurisdictions with their own individual risk and indeed reward profiles. We've been very successful with our strategy in Turkey. Obviously, we've got very capable partners in Turkey. They're operating very successfully there. In the case of Kosovo, likewise, we've got a very capable operator, Western Tethyan Resources, and the partnership that we've got with Newmont in that case. That's an exploration partnership. Newmont continuing to support the exploration of Western Tethyan through investments in Ariana. And we're looking to continue to grow the exploration pipeline in Kosovo and surrounding countries. And we've got a number of mineral exploration applications in currently. Some of those were alluded to in that announcement the other day. And we see a real sort of path forward there. Likewise with the other jurisdictions, most notably Zimbabwe.
Tavshan is your first heap leach operation. How does that change your production profile and your cost structure compared to Kızıltepe?
Yeah, so Tavshan and Kızıltepe, in a sense, have been combined into a single operating hub. Some of the ore from Tavshan, the high-grade ore, for the last 18 months or so has been trucked to Kızıltepe for processing. And we obviously get a benefit from the processing through the CIL plant because we can actually extract more gold out of the ore through the CIL process as opposed to the heap leach process. So it is more beneficial for higher grade ore to do that. And so that's something that would continue irrespective of whether Tavshan heap leach is operational or not. So we've benefited from that production already. The Tavshan heap leach is nearing completion, and we've provided an update on where we are with cold commissioning, and we're moving now towards hot commissioning. So all of that progress will be continuing to report on in due course, but we're really very, very close now to completing the Tavshan mine build and actually turning the heap leach on. Once the heap leach is operational, the production profile does change a bit because Kızıltepe admittedly is reaching the end of its life and the grade of the ore has been tailing down over recent years. But Tavshan, yes, the high grade ore will continue to be fed to Kızıltepe, but Tavshan itself will be operating at a grade of about 1 to 1.5 grams per ton. And what we'll see is production. What we're trying to do is maintain production at the sort of levels that we have seen out of Kızıltepe historically. So there shouldn't be any change in terms of overall output. Costs are going to come up a little bit because it is a heap leach and we're not getting the same level of recovery out of the processing that we've seen from Kızıltepe. So on a unit cost basis, the costs effectively go up, but well within international norms, and the operation will indeed be profitable.
Maybe moving on to corporate news, Kerem, you've appointed a new deputy chairman, and that's really in the run up to your ASX dual listing. Could you touch on that, please?
Yes, so we're really pleased to be joined now by Michael Atkins. Michael Atkins has a very extensive career. He's starting off in the sort of accounting, financing field, but really across a number of jurisdictions globally, with a particular expertise in Southern Africa. He was very successful with an Australian company called Gallery Gold. and they developed the Galena Gold project in Botswana. And interestingly, that's just over the border from where Dokwe sits effectively. So it sits within the same geology broadly within the Zimbabwe Craton. So he's got a huge amount of experience operating in that part of the world. And in the case of Gallery Gold, that was later sold to IAM Gold and had been producing at about 100,000 ounces of gold per annum, which is the level that we want to be achieving out of the Dokwe project ultimately. He's had success in West Africa as well with another Australian company, as well as interests in other mining companies as a director, as chairman, and also in the petroleum space as well. So it's great that he's been able to join the board at this pivotal moment in our history as we approach our ASX dual listing.
And when can we look forward to that listing, Karen?
Yeah, we're expecting to complete that through this quarter. So we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the prospectus. We're looking to get that submitted very soon. And then that there's a process that we'll have to follow with that. Yeah, we're looking forward to getting started with our next leg up effectively.
And what is that next leg up?
Achieving the ASX dual listing, bringing on board a new cohort of institutional shareholders ultimately to support our story going forward. This is going to be important as we drive the development of the Dokwe Gold Project.
Well, it sounds like a pivotal year indeed for the company. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. I hope you'll keep us updated on progress.
Yes, look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Karen Senner, Managing Director of Ariana Resources.